Good afternoon or good evening if you're on East Coast time or anywhere around the world. It may even be the morning. I want to welcome everyone to the Q&A session directed towards metaphysical questions, directed towards spiritual questions, directed towards soulful questions. Anything that comes to mind that elevates you on your spiritual quest for destiny and fate. But before we even get into the Q&A session, we're going to allow the people to come in, and I'm just going to allow the voice to flow freely. Now, this is the 27th day. We know that this is the wisdom of God, which manifests as new knowledge, new ways to acknowledge what you already know, right? On the 27th day, the wisdom of God. What does that mean? What does that mean? What is the wisdom of God? The wisdom of God is the wisdom that allows you to ascend to godhood. We all have the potential to ascend because we are here at the class or the school of earth to realize our greatest potential, which is to be able to use this gross body, this material body, and to lessen it or to lighten it or to levitate it so much so that it becomes an extension of you. What do I mean by an extension? Your etheric body can travel further than your physical body. It's your etheric body that you astral travel, you lucid dream, so on and so forth. All of those techniques, all of those avenues of spiritual communication happens through the etheric self. So the etheric self must be generated, it must be built, it must be cultivated. And because it must be built and cultivated, what tools do we have to build and cultivate the etheric body? The physical body or the gross body or the lower self. The lower self is the tool, the laboratory, the alchemical pot we use to test out the alchemical reactions of the universe. Everything is chemistry, and because everything is chemistry, that includes us. If you put something in your body that you're allergic to, you're going to have a chemical reaction. And that goes for anyone. You put something inside your body or on your physical vessel that you are allergic to or doesn't resonate with you, is going to cause an irritation, is going to cause a chemical reaction. So because this is based upon chemistry, we must understand that the body, being a laboratory, being a experiment vessel, we are here to experiment with the chemistry of all around us, everything in our environment, everything in our atmosphere. We are here to test and see how do our particular physical vessels interact with the world outside of us. And once we begin to conduct those experiments of how our personal body reacts to our personal environment, then we start to discover better and more efficient ways to conduct the experiments, which allow us to see beyond our physical sight. And when we are able to see and pierce beyond the veil and be able to see a grander scene, then, or another way of saying this is, now you have vision to be able to look into the future. And when you have vision to be able to look into the future, now you can properly plan and plot your way to how to achieve those goals, because you can see it. If you can't envision it, then you can't move towards it. So that's why envisioning or imagination is always the first step. You have to see it, and when you are able to see it, you are able to navigate towards it. If there is no vision, then there is no clear direction. So what we are here to do in the lower self and the lower body is to establish a clear direction as to where we are going after this. We're only going to be here for a century. Most people are not even going to be here a full century. So we're only here for a century. After that, the physical body dissolves. Because we're only here for a century, and if we study any 100 years in history and see how much has happened in 100 years, this 100 years is a time of extreme growth and development. If you look from 1900 to the year 2000 and you look at how much growth and evolution that was observed by those who were able to see it, for those born in the 20th century and who have been able to see the transition into the 21st century with technology, the internet, social media, so on and so forth. Since we are able to see our future, you can say, our higher self, our holy guardian angel, through practicing these techniques of experimentation of our alchemical vessel. This is what allows us once again to see and to pierce beyond the veil. And when the veil becomes pierced, there is no longer a separation between you right here and you in the future, you in the past and you in the present. All that becomes one time. You can say there is no, okay, over here, over here. Time and space begins to dissolve and all becomes the mind. You just begin to perceive the true reality, the eye of Haru or the eye of Shiva. Now, I've been looking at the screen as I've been speaking, and the first question that came up was, why do I identify as King Fortune? Now, King Fortune has been manifested for the sake of allowing me to manifest a different aspect of myself. Remember, everything is numerology, right? Whatever name that you take upon yourself, that is a frequency that you are generating, and that frequency that you generate will extend in your outer reality. So when I identified as asharenu, or when I identified as, let's just go down the line. If you go to my very first physical video, meaning if you go to my very first video of me speaking, because my very first videos released were isochronic tones, like I was experimenting with sound. So my very first 10 videos, my very first 10 videos are sound, because I've always been into sound, which is why I'm more into the ASMR now. For people who may not even understand the correlation, you go back to my very first video, I was releasing sound. So I've always been a sound man. So if you go to my very first video where I started to speak, I identified as Prince Raziel, right? I was Prince Raziel. Then from the Prince, I became the Asha, and from the Asha, I became the King. So this is a 4-year process. My first video of me speaking, I believe, was in 2014. We're in 2019 now. This is a 5-year journey. So in 5 years, went from the Prince to the Asha to the King. It's just a natural evolution. That's all it is. It's the same inner dynamics, but the outer dynamics will change. So my look will change. My appearance will change as I change externally. Just to show and prove that it can be done. Just to show and prove we are formless. I can come to you in various forms, which I have. Just look at my videos throughout the years. I have manifested in several different forms. I look different in certain videos. I look different in other videos, because it all depends on which information and what knowledge you are dealing with at the time. So depending upon what I was dealing with at the time will determine my energy frequencies. Sometimes it was high, sometimes it was low. Sometimes it was psychedelic, sometimes it was regular. And sometimes it was, I'm all bummed out. Then sometimes I'm on my pretty boy shit. You know what I mean? And just to show the various dynamics of energy frequencies. And I'm not afraid to show my darkest form or my lightest form. So it's just a symbol. I am here to be a symbol of formlessness. Also, also saw a question that was talking about Kundalini, but let me quote the question directly so I don't misinterpret anything. Okay? Give me 1 second. Do I do the Kundalini yoga? Absolutely. For anybody who wants to learn about Kundalini yoga, particularly Raja yoga, I would say I specify in Raja yoga for those who even know what that means. But if you want to know more information about that, feel free to hit me directly. Asha at asharenu.com. That's my email. No problems. But just to give a brief overview of what that means. It's about correcting your posture. It's about correcting your breathing. It's about correcting your thinking. It's about correcting all of the things that we take for granted, all of the things that add on to our overall appearance and frequency that we just may not identify. Like, it's the difference between success and failure could simply be whether you are slouching or standing up straight or having back straight. Because when a person is observing your body language, before they ever hear you speak, they're all observing you. Because you are observed before words are exchanged, meaning energy is already being exchanged before sound, or sound is already being exchanged on a more subtler level. And the more we become aware of these subtle vibrations, to realize, okay, studied before I ever open my mouth. So let me be in more control of what I study. So if I want to be a walking hieroglyph, if I want to be a walking symbol, which we already are, but to take it seriously, to take your hieroglyphic nature seriously, then you start to pay more attention to the subtle vibrations that you emit. So my particular form of yoga would be the Raja yoga. And again, anybody want to know any more information about that, just feel free to hit the email. Okay? How do I develop or create the vision to achieve what I want? In order to cultivate your imagination, you must go through various exercises of foreseeing what you think. What do I mean by that? In my earliest journeys, if we want to, let's take it back to 2009, because that's when I first started, meditating. I started meditating in 2009. So the techniques that were described to me in order to cultivate my inner vision, I was asked to visualize random things. Visualize a machine with a red lever, pull down a red lever, a yellow box opens up, and within this yellow box is a green serpent. This green serpent spins around your third eye, which starts to emit a blue light. That blue light is projected to the sky, which turns the skies purple, and from the purple skies descends black rain. Shit like that, right? The more you do that, the more you cultivate the inner vision, just imagining, allow your imagination to wow and to create new visions that you may not have ever seen physically. It's like a muscle. You must exercise the muscle. Your imagination needs to be cultivated. It has to be exercised. You gotta bring it to life. These things are dormant within us all. We must bring them to life. So you gotta cultivate, you gotta work it out like a muscle. Bring it to life by being very creative in your visions. Simple as that. It's simple, but it takes work. Give yourself a couple months. I say give yourself about 6 months, before you really start to perceive yourself in a different light. Where you start looking in the mirror and you don't see the same person anymore. You look at your body, you don't see the same body anymore. You start to see a different being. You start to see yourself come out of you can say your higher self starts to come out of your lower self. You will begin to perceive a difference, not just in your internal reality, but also in your external reality. So it is a simple exercise, but it takes half a year if you got the time and the dedication and the endurance to endure, then have at it. But we shouldn't be in any rush. Everybody in this world wants to be in a rush, but we shouldn't be in a rush. So if you feel like you're in a rush, start meditating, slow your time down. And when you start to slow your time down and you feel like you gotta do this by next week, gotta do this by next month, gotta meet the rent by the first and all that, you gotta get out of this month the weekday mentality. Lifetime to lifetime, lifetime to lifetime, lifetime to lifetime, right? Simple as that. Okay, I already answered the question, asharenu question. So you make vibrates, makes a sound, and everything emits light. Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm not gonna ever lie to nobody. That's the thing about me. I don't have to make up. Everything I say can be researched. You can research Raja Yoga. You can research sound, frequency, vibration. Everything that I'm saying is backed by science. I'm not going to ever put anybody out on a spaceship somewhere and speaking knowledge that cannot be verified. Everything I speak can be verified. And if it's not in a book, then it is within a who has had the same experience. So let's just say I'm speaking about spirits. It may not be a physical description of these spirits, but someone who has worked with these spirits can identify what I'm speaking about because they have a personal relationship with that energy. So if it can't be verified by a book, it can be verified by a practitioner of the sciences that I speak about because it's a internal reality. So there's no need to make up anything. There's no need to go anywhere that doesn't make sense. That's not product. That's not practical. That's not scientific, and that's not magical. Because magic and science is the same thing. Do not separate magic from science. You can, but you're going to have a hard time understanding magic if you're strictly scientific. You're going to have a lot of time to. You're going to have a lot of hardship understanding magic. If you're a scientist, you're going to have a hard time as a scientist understanding magic. If you over here or place yourself over there, walk the middle path. Walk the middle pillar between science and magic. Don't go from one extreme to the next extreme, right? All right. I think this is a question. When we dream at night, do we go to an alternative parallel reality? Absolutely. Dreams are just your desires unmanifested. If we were completely fulfilled, we wouldn't dream. Dreams are just unfulfilled desires. So the more we live, the less we dream. See, because we are in a system where most people don't live the life that they truly desire to live because of whatever excuses. I gotta go to work, I gotta do this, you just can't find time to do the things that you truly appreciate. And because your desires are expressed through dreams, then a parallel reality is created or generated by your mind to live out those desires. You know, do you also hate Israel? I don't hate anybody or anything. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You know, everyone will have their opinion, but that's why I don't claim anything. Because when you claim things, you create enemies and you create allies. You know what I mean? So it's like you claiming Christianity, you kind of become an enemy of Islam. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just whatever you claim, you kind of take on that karma of enemies. And I'm not with that. I'm not with anything. It is what it is. If you want to take on another group's or another religion's karma, which has nothing to do with you, feel free. But if you are a true individual and you realize I don't have anything to do with any of this stuff, I can study these things, I can practice these things on my own time in my own space. I don't need to take the religious dogma of all these things, right? One of my favorite movies with exoteric symbolism, The Matrix and Dark City, Star Wars. You know what I mean? All that sci-fi shit. Just the sci-fi genre. You know, you got animes. You know, you got Dragon Ball Z, Yorumi Kenshin. You know what I mean? It's stuff that I grew up watching. I grew up on Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball Z, all that stuff. Anime, anything East, because they put all the science into the anime. Now, unless you have a trained eye, you're not gonna realize it. But when I study things, you know, I can see it all, right? Star Wars is the Bible. Star Wars is based upon a lot of things, but it is truthful information. You can say it's based on the Anunnaki, it's based on the Elohim, it's based on the star travelers, the celestial now. You know what I mean? So you can say Anunnaki, Star Wars, it's all the same thing. They pull from this mythology and they create movies. That's all it is. Thoughts on animal sacrifice, Palo Mayombe shit, you don't have to do it. That's what I say. Just because a religious dogmatic approach is observed don't mean you have to participate in it. We can generate our own power. We don't have to sacrifice anything. Now, this is also not a diss to the culture. This is just as a as an individual, you don't have to participate in religious dogma. Doesn't mean that you hate the people who participate. You just respect their space and they respect your space. Can humans develop the ability to time travel? Absolutely. Just drink more water. You know, urine therapy, you will time travel. What's the name of the melody in the background? That's my music. I created this music. You know what I mean? So you're not gonna find this anywhere else on the internet. This is my personal original sounds and just my instruments. You know what I mean? You know, I'm elevating. I'm not using nobody else's creativity from this point forward. It's creativity. Everything is 100% original. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean. That's why it sounds the way it sounds. It ain't just no trap shit. It ain't just no Eastern shit. It's a blend of everything. I got everything in there. You know what I mean? But that's just my personal ear. So when you hear harmonies, this is just the sounds that stimulate me. And again, I will be releasing an album. I'm thinking maybe I should put some 16s on the beats, or maybe I just should release an instrumental album. So if anybody likes the instrumentals in the background, just hit me up. It's like 9 instrumentals, $9. We just keep it like that. You want the instrumentals, $9, $1.99 each. Simple as that. You know what I mean? Or just enjoy the sounds from the videos. You know what I mean? Feel like that. With your sigil magic, I'm not sure if I understand I'm supposed to create my own or do I use hand mudras. It all depends on what your intentions is. You can create your own sigils. This is called sigil magic. Sigil magic is utilizing a magical alphabet, right? Is utilizing a magical alphabet and creating your own personal symbol. So you may use the Enochian alphabet. You use the Enochian alphabet. It's a whole process, right? We don't have to go through the whole process, but it's a entire science called sigil magic, where you use a magical alphabet. You write your intention, take out all the vowels, and so you're left with just letters, right? It may be M, K, you know what I mean, L, so on and so forth. Then each of those magical symbol. So you piece together those magical symbols, right? This is called sigil magic, right? So that's all that is. You know, there we go. Music is essential for attraction, the right type of music. You know what I mean? That's why I had to create my own music. It's like I can't, my vibration, my internal vibration, I could not find it in anyone else's instrumentation. That's why I had to start creating my own. And I encourage for anybody who is appreciative to sound your own frequencies and vibration. So what I hear now, I didn't hear it anywhere else, so I had to create my own. So that's all, that's what I mean. So yes, create your own instruments if that's your archetype. And if that's not your archetype, just make sure that you are very selective to what you listen to. Now, I'm not talking about, okay, hip hop is bad and demonic, then let's just say the techno and all that is good, the house music. It ain't about good or bad. You just want to be selective about what you listen to. So if it's time to go to war, you know what to listen to. And it's time, in times of peace, you know what to listen to. What are my thoughts on twin flames and how they differ from soulmates? I just did a video called The Journey of the Soulmates. Did a whole video about the soulmates, but the difference between soulmates and twin flames, it comes from different parts of the world. That's all it is. They're talking about the same thing. It's just using different words. But all this comes from a different language. You know what I mean? We're talking about Eastern philosophy and Eastern thought applied to American or English terms. So one term says soulmate, another say twin flames, but it's essentially those who resonate with the same frequency because they originate from the same star constellation or a constellation that's connected to their star constellation. For example, if you're from Sirius, anyone else from Sirius, you're going to have a relationship with. But Sirius is also connected to Orion, so you will also have an affinity to people from Orion. Orion is also connected to Personian. So if people from Personian, you will have, but this is going into astronomy and astrology. You know, this is getting pretty advanced. So that's what the twin flame is. It just depends on star constellation and star alignments and which constellations have an affinity towards each other, which ones are at war. This is the whole theme of Star Wars. You know, the war between the star constellations, the 88 star constellations. Some of them are at war, some of them are friendly, some of them are not. You know what I mean? So depending on where a person is from, this is why you may like certain people or not like certain people. It has nothing to do with personality. It's all energy signature. It's just people that you don't resonate with. It ain't got nothing to do with say or how they feel or what their ideology is. It's just a different. They're just planets apart from you. There's nothing right or wrong about it. It's just when you understand energy, you just accept it for what it is. Let me build with the I resonate with, and for the people I don't resonate with, I don't have to hate. I don't have to make them my enemies. I just like, all right, I'm just not going to get along with everybody and everything. That's fine. Stay over there. I stay over here. I respect your space. You respect my space. And simple as that. You know what I mean? Exactly. Vedic astrology goes deeper into these things, right? So for the people who practice Vedic astrology, you know about this. But if you are not into Vedic astrology, I offer those readings. I mean, go to my website, asharenu.com. I offer the Vedic readings as well for those who want to understand those deeper aspects. If you want to understand your birth star, where your birth star is, your compatibility, all that, it's a little bit more advanced. So I charge more because it's more work that goes into the Vedic because it's more detailed. But just throwing that out there for people who don't really understand what I'm speaking about, I offer that service. All right. Um, Yesterday I mentioned the 88 constellations because I go deeper into it. I mean, that's just what it is. It's just mathematics. We have 88 constellations in the sky. You know what I mean? You can buy any application on your phone. I believe, if you got the iPhone, it's called Sky View or something. I mean, it's like $4 or $5. So you can see all the constellations in the northern and the southern sky.